Guys, welcome back to another episode of the Ike MMA show. And I'm joined in the studio by the undefeated, the Menace, the Mike, Michael, no, not Michael, sorry, the Denis Frimpong. I'm trying, your, your nickname for some reason made me say Michael there for some reason. Look, first of all, how are you feeling? How are you doing?
I am good, mate. I am good. I just need to correct you there, though. I'm not technically undefeated. I was robbed in my pro debut. I only have undefeated pro fighter because I won that fight, and it's not officially undefeated, but anyone can go watch that fight if they want on UFC Fight Pass. UAE Warriors. I don't remember the number. Not ours, but yeah, I won that fight basically, and I got robbed by judges. So it is what it is.
Was there a situation whereby it was obvious who won the fight? Because I've seen a lot of your fights, as in I tried to research at least those that are the footage is available on YouTube. I watched as many as I could. Was it one of those fights whereby it's clear anyone could see watching could see that you clearly won that fight, and then the judge stupidly sent the win the other way?
Um, well, basically, mate, one of the judges gave me 30-27. So one of the judges gave me all three rounds, right?
Okay.
Um, and the other two gave him all three rounds. So it's one of them where it's like, what were two of the judges watching, and then one judge seeing something completely different. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, I landed the cleaner shots. I came out of the fight completely unscathed. I didn't feel like he landed a single clean shot to my face. He landed a few nice leg kicks. I'll give him that, like little inside leg kicks, outside leg kicks, and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, as far as like the big damaging shots, the clean shots, I landed more of them. And it was damage wise, it might not have been like clear, but as far as cage control and stuff like that, I definitely won the fight. It is what it is, as I say. Um, I just think that obviously there's a bit of a scoring issue in MMA at the moment, like we've seen with Valentina Shevchenko. Just there a couple of weekends ago, in a title fight where she got given a draw. One of the judges gave a 10-8 round for that fifth round. And like a 10-8 round should be like you got your ass kicked in that round. You got slapped up in that round, and it wasn't that definitive of a round. So it's just like, what are the judges looking for? Like, what are they actually looking to score? But yeah, it is what it is. Just take it out of the judges' hands, in it. You know.
There was I remember distinctively, vividly this post on Instagram that it has been suggested. Uh, was it suggested, or is it that promoter was actually going to implement this and make this happen in their own events? That after a show, if a win has been awarded controversially, probably to the up to a particular fighter, but it's clearly some majority of the fight fans who watched the fight that it was the other fighter who clearly won that fight, that judge will be invited to sit at the press conference and probably answer and defend that decision. Now, would you like something like that to happen in
I,
all the
I'd
major?
I don't think that's going to make much of a difference. I'd like for judges to have to have some kind of experience in martial arts. Like, how are they scoring significant strikes if they've never been punched in the face? How are they going
Mm,
to know the difference between what hurts and what doesn't hurt? So
yes.
I say all judges should either get in the cage and have a few fights, or they should be former fighters. It's not like the old days where we didn't, like, it was a new sport. We didn't have retired fighters that could go and be judges. You know what I mean? So we've got people that are ex-fighters that could be judges, that know the sport, know the little intricacies. They know how much, for example, like if we're scoring significant damage, what's more damaging, a jab or me judo throwing someone into the air and then slamming them on the canvas? Do you know what I mean? Like that's counted as a takedown. They wouldn't consider that a significant strike, but that's more damaging
Mm.
than a jab. Do you know what I mean? Like, it takes the wind out of you. You can break ribs. If it was on concrete, you'd be dead. So it's a mad sport. It's one of them where it's like it's
Yeah.
not like boxing where you can clearly see, oh, he's landed more punches than the other guy. There's no kicks, there's no
Yes, yeah.
grappling. There's so many facets of the sport, so there's so much to score. One judge might enjoy watching grappling. One judge might enjoy watching kicks. You know what I mean? So it's so up in the air. But this is what I say. Like I've just come on the whole mentality now that I'm just going to finish every cunt. I'm not arse letting someone that's never had a fight decide whether or not I want
Yeah.
to fight.
Um, you kind of flipped the set of questions I had in mind to ask you, kind of like made me kind of jump a few questions now. You talk about martial arts, there's a lot more that goes into it in the cage there. Um, what do you make of these social media, or let me call them these YouTubers? And I've got a feeling that those such as the Paul brothers, especially Jake Paul, will like to call themselves boxers, probably because they like to be taken more seriously now, just in general
Yeah.
in life. What do you make of them coming over to the combat sports? I think for now they're kind of like making a lot of noise on the boxing scene. Do you ever think that they will ever kind of push the boundaries a little bit more and go to mixed martial arts, or do you think they're just going to stay in boxing?
Um, I'll give you a bit of a dual answer on that. I think, yeah, I'd like to see them go into mixed martial arts. I'd just like to see if they can implement that. I know both of them had like a bit of wrestling pedigree. They both wrestled in high school. A lot of people have. And obviously they can box. You know what I mean? Like regardless of what people want to say about them being YouTubers and that, like it's a load of nonsense. Yeah, like at the end of the day, Jake Paul, for example, he's what 26, something like that,
Yeah.
and he's been training boxing at least like 6, 7 years now. You know what I mean? And he's got all the money in the world before he started boxing. Like I started martial arts as a whole when I was 21. Um, I had to train around a full-time job, um, around not having loads of money to get like the best trainers, to go to super camps, to fly the best padmen in, to get the best strength conditioning coaches, to get the best supplements, the best food, personal chefs, all that. So for me to have gotten to the level I'm at, um, you know, within that space of time, a similar space of time that Jake Paul's been training, and he's just been focused on boxing, just boxing, and he's had all this money and all these opportunities. So I think you can't really call them YouTubers anymore. They are boxers. They've been training. Um, they might not be elite boxers yet, but like they're I think they'd slap up a lot of people that discredit them for their skills. But yeah, again, saying that, I would like to see them move into MMA, and test their skills, see how they fare against getting dumped on their head by a D1 wrestler.
But Dennis, I hear that. I hear everything you say about both of them, but you know, they haven't really earned their stripes in the way as such as someone as you.
Mm,
I think when Jake Paul fought Tommy Fury, people thought, yes, this is where he finally meets his match. He's going to be competing against someone who's far more closely matched in terms of age, for example.
mm.
So obviously it's going to be a far more even playing field. Whereas for the rest of their fights, they've just been going for retired fighters or for retired mixed martial artists.
Yeah, but you know what? It's a big thing in boxing anyway, and I think they've just exposed that. I would say Jake Paul's first 5 boxing fights, yeah, as a pro, arguably were harder fights than most professional boxers have in their first 10, 15 fights. If you look at most of the top level boxers, yeah, like even the likes of like a great like Mike Tyson, mate, Mike Tyson was knocking out people that were doing a bleeding construction job or working as a janitor, during the week, and then coming in and having a boxing fight on the weekend. Most of them fight journeymen. They're paid to literally come in there and lose. They're told, listen, all you have to do is maybe last a couple of rounds. Just last a couple of rounds, and we'll give you a bit of money. Do you know what I mean? So I'd say Jake Paul's actually fought more stiff competition in his first few fights than most professional boxers have. People can argue that if they want, but if you go and look at the records of most high level pro boxers, like if you look at Tommy Fury, mate, like he's someone that was credited as like, oh, he's legit in that. But look at his first few opponents, mate. They were all bums. They were all absolute bums. You know what I mean? And that is seeping into MMA a little bit. There's a lot of people that go and fight their first 5 or 6 fights against pure journeymen. You know, and more power to it. Build your record and build all that. Build your name up and stuff. But to say that Jake Paul is not a real fighter, mate, his third or fourth pro fight was against Ben Askren. Yeah, fair enough. Ben Askren's not a boxer, but then he fought Tyron Woodley. Tyron Woodley had banged most journeyman boxers out in a boxing fight. So it's one of them.
All right, let's go a bit further. Dylan Dennis and Logan Paul. Who do you think is going to come? Even though it's kind of a funny one because Dylan Dennis has not fought in ages at all.
Yeah, Dylan Dennis is I'm not gonna lie, he's got a bit of a fan in me now because somehow the guy's managed to stay relevant. Like he's known as a jiu-jitsu guy. He's never really won anything at black belt of note. He was a good brown belt, and he is good. He's got better jiu-jitsu than most MMA guys. Um, but again, as you say, had two fights on Bellator and hasn't fought in years. And still has somehow managed to stay way more relevant, and he's well more known than a lot of fighters that have been. I think he has like 2 million followers, mate. Do you know what I mean? That's more than a lot of yours. Leon Edwards has 1.5 or something like. You know what I mean? Like he's got more followers than the welterweight champion of the world in the UFC. So I rate him for that. He talks a lot of shit. Um, he keeps himself relevant, and I rate that a little bit. I do think Jake Paul is going to slap him up, but I think regardless of what way the fight goes, as far as he's been doming Jake Paul online, and obviously bringing his girlfriend into it and stuff like that. He's exposed a lot of
You
stuff
mean
about,
Logan
or
Paul?
not even Jake, yeah, Logan Paul. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
been exposing a lot of stuff about his missus and stuff like that. So as far as I'm concerned, it's already a TKO to Dylan Dennis in life, regardless of what happens in the ring. But I do think Logan will beat him. I don't think Dylan has the stand up skills to match him.
Okay. The first time I'm speaking with you, but I've heard you in interviews before. But can you just, because the first time I speak to athletes and people affiliated with combat sports in general, I just want to get a bit about their background, the backstory. So for you, what kind of enticed you to get involved in combat sports as a whole and then venture into mixed martial arts?
Yeah, so I think what's different about me from a lot of MMA fighters is like I started quite late, and it wasn't like something that I had to do. It wasn't like, oh, this is all I could ever be. I think I could be anything that I actually just put my mind in and my effort into. Um, but I did get in a lot of fights when I was a kid, and I was pretty good at every sport when I was a kid and growing up in that. I was quite a high level track and field athlete. Um, but I was a hothead, and I got into a lot of fights. Yeah, I had to just where I grew up and stuff like that. Just had to defend myself. Um, and I was always a pretty good scrapper. So I said, look, maybe if I refine these techniques and learned how to actually fight and put my athletic capacity into fighting, um, I could go somewhere with it. I think MMA might be the hardest sport in the world. In terms of just what it is, getting locked in a cage with another guy who's trained to kill you. Um, but I think as far as like getting to the top of the sport, it's way behind other sports. Like there's not many other sports where you could start doing the sport at, in fact, with MMA itself, I only started 3 years ago. So I was like, what? Like I was like 25, 26. Um, there's very few sports where you could start at that age and get to the top of sport. Volkanovski and Ngannou are perfect examples where they started in their mid 20s and ended up getting to be world champion. And there's no other sport really where you could do that. You couldn't do that in football. You couldn't do that in track and field. You couldn't do that in American football. They're all sports where you start from young and you have to have a talent for it and you have to have a capacity for it from a young age. And then they refine that. But yeah, I think with MMA, because it is just at the end of the day, a fight, you could be all technical if you want, but if I'm just a hard cunt and I learn how to throw a big 1-2 or a big overhand, I can knock you out. So that's what I think makes a sport so interesting. But yeah, Yeah, I don't need to do it. You know what I mean? I don't need to do MMA. I don't think I could go and get a job, and it would probably make my life a lot easier. You know what I mean? Being a broke MMA fighter is not easy. I could just go get a normal office job and that, but I would feel like I was doing a disservice to God for the talents that He gave me. Um, it's something that I have a proclivity to. It's something that I think I was born to do, and it gives me excitement in my life. So I just fucking enjoy it. You know what I mean? I
Mhm.
enjoy the feeling of the camp, the hard work you have to do, the walkout, the nerves, the weight cut, everything. I love every part of it. Maybe not so much the weight cut, but yeah, like getting in there and just having a fight with someone. There's nothing else like it. Like you say, all these YouTubers and influencers are now looking to fight because they have all the money in the world, but that feeling of getting into a fight with someone legally and not having to get arrested for it and all that, you can't buy that. There's nowhere you can buy that feeling. That's something you just have to do, you know?
You don't think it's perhaps probably to do with a sense of, again, like I said before, with the YouTubing thing, a sense of being taken seriously and a sense of people respecting you for a fight, whether you win or lose. At least you still have, me personally, I would still respect the fighters who didn't come out on top, because at least they had the balls and the guts to step into that cage and still give it their all, give it their best, and take the loss on the chin. Yeah, in front of a lot of people who, with now social media, might troll them online and send all sorts of hateful comments. Whereas with the influencing stuff, well, you're not exactly doing something that's gonna kind of, let me say, it's gonna dent your ego or manhood, or you do something. If you don't do well in it, you're not gonna be like embarrassed by people or feel humiliated. You know what I mean?
No, I think it is pretty embarrassing, mate. To be honest, like there's nothing more embarrassing than losing a fight in front of friends and family that have come to
Mm,
see you, and especially when like like myself, you talk a lot of shit and you put yourself into a position where people almost want to see you lose. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like you're kind of giving those haters that satisfaction. But at the same time, when you get the haters from talking a lot of shit, um, it also kind of shuts them up when you win.
yes,
So
yeah.
yeah, I think it's part and parcel of both. You know what I mean? Yeah, maybe they're doing it for a bit of respect and stuff like that, but like I think a lot of fighters that are just straight up fighters are only doing it for a paycheck. I think in deep inside their own hearts, they know and they understand that they will never be a world champion. Because there's a very small percentage of people who do that.
Yeah.
Um, but I think some of them just couldn't do anything else. They don't have any other option. Like they wouldn't be able to go and work in Tesco, for example. Do you know what I mean? Or work in an office. But yeah, I think that for me, it's just that buzz. It's just that buzz of getting into a fight. Because I've said on many interviews, if I wasn't fighting legally in a cage, contracted, with official and all that, I'd probably still just be fighting people on the street. I'd probably be going on nights out and just getting into fights with people,
Mm.
and I'd probably end up fucking arrested or something. You know what I mean, and mess my life up. Um, so yeah, I think it's something primal in us anyway. Human beings, like men especially, we used to, like, not long ago, we used to go to war. You know what I
Yes,
mean? It was
yeah.
like constant war. It wasn't just like, oh yeah, we're going to war once in a generation. It was like, oh, we're off to war again this month. You know what I mean? Oh, the other tribe from down the road, they're coming to invade us now. Now we've got to go to war. And I think if I was born 1,000 years ago, I'd be one of those people with a spear and a shield and a sword, and I'd be going to war too. I think it's just something that hasn't come out of us. It's still in our DNA.
Yeah. No, absolutely not. Now everything is so. Can I say this? Especially like here in the UK, maybe it might be the same story in Ireland. Everything seems so pussified.
Yeah, it's soft. Life is
Yes.
soft. Life
Mhm.
is soft and easy. Convenience has killed drive and people's ambition. You can just tap a few apps and then you have food delivered to your house. You don't have to go and chase a buffalo for a week or herd a buffalo and kill it and then gut it and haul it back to the village and cook it. You know, you just get everything packaged easy. You can go out and walk around town and not have the fear of some highway robber just robbing you at knife point. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yes, yeah.
so yeah, I think like we are definitely like back in the day, every man was trained how to fight. You know, whether you were rich, poor, you knew how to fight. You had to know how to fight to defend yourself and defend your family. Um, Whereas now the world's a bit too safe, and it's happened so fast that the
Yeah,
world's changed that way that our DNA and our evolution has not had time to catch up to that. So we still do have that urge for violence and that urge for like uh like some kind of conflict. Do you know what I mean?
absolutely. No, absolutely. I completely understand you. I mean, even this, as we're talking now, I'm gonna upload this to YouTube and I'll upload the audio to different major audio platforms. I'm sure you will know that on YouTube, in fact, with certain platforms, any video content you upload, certain words, the R word, the S word, the P word, I'm not talking about the in the normal sense when you're insulting someone, but certain people, you call them the P word as a term for something that's not really deemed good by society standards.
Mm.
YouTube will ban or terminate that video, for example. So, you know, even though our DNA, like you said, has not had time to catch up to it, it's now being forced down our throats. I just don't understand where it all went wrong and why all of this has been allowed to happen. It's actually it's
Um,
frustrating.
it, it's I'll play devil's advocate for a bit because as much as I do agree with you, I think that like the world's definitely a bit safer as well. You know what I mean? It's not a bad thing that the world's safe and that we don't have constant war. We don't have to worry about a horde of raiders coming into like I can be in my house and be chill, and I can choose to go and train violence. I don't have to constantly be at threat of violence and worry about a load of Vikings raiding my town and killing everyone and then like raping my family. You know what I mean? Like it's one of them. Like I feel like it's not a bad thing that we've evolved to that our society has evolved. It's gotten better. You know what I mean? Like I'm sure you understand that like even 50, 60 years ago, like people like us were being hung out of trees. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
and like people talk about the good old days and this and that. I'm like, when was it ever better for like it definitely we're definitely at the best point in history ever, like for to be a
Mm,
human being, you know. In a lot of ways. In some ways maybe not, but in terms of safety and in terms of like quality of life, I think it is, you know. But yeah, then we do lose, you know, to gain something you have to lose something.
yeah.
So obviously, as a result of that, then we end up with, as you say, a bit of a pussified society.
Um, your success in the sport that you achieved so far, what would you say you owe that to? You know, is there a particular athlete or particular family member, friend, or particular father figure that you look up to that's really prompted that drive in you to succeed?
To succeed, I mean, my dad definitely would be a major influence on that. He always used to say, like, whatever you want to do, like whether it's being a musician, being a lawyer, being an athlete, whatever it is, you just have to work hard at it. You know, put everything into it. Don't be 99% in. Be 100% in. Obviously, my coach. You know, I've had a lot of coaches over my martial arts career as well. Um, but all of them have always been very much on the side of like work hard and don't half arse it. You know. And then obviously, you know, shout out to a few people I've met along my martial arts journey, like the likes of Shamrock. Um, he was the one that sort of convinced me to do MMA rather than jiu-jitsu when I met him. You know, if I hadn't met him by chance, I'd probably still be just looking to do jiu-jitsu and just looking to chase being a jiu-jitsu world champion. So yeah, there's a lot of influences, but I would say um, yeah, my drive and determination just comes from my will to be the best as well. You know what I mean? Like I can't take my own credit away from it. I have to obviously acknowledge that everyone can tell you this, that, and the other, but at the end of the day, you have to be the one who wants to do it and who
Yes.
works to do it. You know.
You mentioned Shamrock. That brings me to another area that I like to talk about. Octagon MMA Challenge. How was that?
Um, in one word or in a few words?
No, tell me everything. At least, well, tell me everything that you're allowed to tell me, because I think because it's a televised reality project. I've got a feeling there's some things that you guys may not be allowed to reveal.
Yeah, I can't talk about results or anything like that, but it was definitely a once in a lifetime opportunity. Um, Obviously, bit of a breakout opportunity for me as well. Um, yeah, I won't say just the big break just yet, but it's the first step in my pro career onto bigger and better things. Obviously, the experience of being over there in Slovakia, filming it, being in a villa, being like, you know, going around and like in our octagon gear and people looking at us and asking us for photos and stuff like that was cool. Um, and obviously just the recognition that I'm going to get from the show, and showing the world my personality as well as my fighting skills. Obviously, you know, as well having Paddy Houlihan as a coach as well as Shem on the show. Paddy Houlihan was someone that I looked up to. When I was just even just doing jiu-jitsu, you know, I was still a fan of the UFC, and he was like one of the first Irish UFC fighters, like a pioneer in Irish UFC MMA. So to have him as a coach then, and to speak so highly of me, both in Slovakia and in interviews he's done and stuff afterwards, like it's a bit surreal for me, you know what I mean? Like, and I can't wait to see where else the journey is going to take me. But yeah, I think it was like the first big step. Obviously, a big promotion, one of the biggest European promotions, if not the biggest. I'd say getting to be the biggest now. Um, but yeah, it was incredible, to be honest.
Yeah, you mentioned the word recognition. It's something that I've noticed that a lot of the fighters, not just fighters, but also the promotion, more domestic local scene in Ireland and here in the UK, they don't. I think more so here in the UK, they don't seem to get the recognition that they deserve. They're very talented fighters. They're very credible promoters who put on a very good event, and they're very entertaining fights. But what I don't like is that the media do not give them the recognition and the exposure that they clearly deserve. We do have very good talents at home, and the fight fans should not forget that.
Yeah, I think a big part of that is because no, I believe because it's let's be honest, it's mainly a working class sport, isn't it? It's mostly kids from council estates, people that aren't from wealthy backgrounds. You know, it's not like rugby or cricket or you know some of these sports where like people play it in private school and then they go on to be professionals. It's like it's still seen as still has that label of like human cockfighting. You know what I mean? Just like two men in a cage. Oh, look how violent it is. Oh, there's blood everywhere. But I think people just don't understand it yet. It's still a very new sport. I think it's changing slowly. You know, I think it's going to take a few more athletes that come out and speak eloquently, and don't aren't just like these oh let me bang bro kind of guys, with face tattoos and that. Don't get me wrong, there's a place for them too. I love Mike Perry myself, you know what I mean. But you know, like,
Yeah.
but let's be honest, like Mike Perry's not exactly the kind of guy you'd want your daughter to come home with. Put it that way, like,
Yeah, yeah.
um. So, yeah, I think when we have a few more people that are educated, you know, like the likes of Kamaru Usman and these guys, like these guys are university educated guys. You know, they have degrees. Like again, they could have gone on to do something else with their life, but they chose to do this sport. And it's not just this brutal, violent sport that it's made out to be by certain politicians and stuff.
Um, what advice would you give to other newer, younger fighters who are joining the sports, whether it's not just mixed martial arts, but boxing, jiu-jitsu, bare knuckle fighting, kickboxing? What advice would you
Mm.
give them as in what would be the do's and don'ts?
The kids, yeah, I would say for the kids, don't do bare knuckle until you're you're a bit older, definitely. And then like yeah, if you're looking to get into MMA, like me personally, I would say study each of the martial arts individually first. So like go and do straight jujitsu, go and do straight wrestling, go and do straight Muay Thai or boxing, and then when you're a bit older, a bit more capable of understanding them and have a good grasp on each of them individually, then go and put them together and just train hard. You know what I mean? Don't overtrain. Don't put too much pressure on yourself when you're a kid. You see a lot of flash of the pan talents, where they come in. You know, they're this unbeatable kid when they're 13, 14, 15, 16, and then when they're like 17, 18, they fight a kid that's like some Francis Ngannou type guy, let's say from Cameroon or from Senegal, that's been training a year and knocks them out. And then they get disheartened because they're like, oh, I've been doing this my whole life. This guy's only been doing it for like a year or less, and he's after banging me out. You know what I mean? Don't get disheartened by that. You know, just keep training, keep working. And as I said, it's still a sport where I wouldn't say it's easy to succeed, but if you put the work in and you train hard, like you can definitely become successful in the sport. You
Um, I was going to ask you about the lockdown and COVID 19 virus that burst into the scene back in 2020 after listening to a podcast you did with it was in a van, the front seat of a van, but I might save that for another episode.
know? No
But
worries.
last but not least, two more questions. When can we see you next fight again?
So I believe that everyone that was on the Octagon Challenge show, so like all the English lads, all the Irish lads, I do believe are going to be fighting in Manchester in the AO Arena on November 4th. So I'm expecting to be on that. I'm just waiting for a contract and an opponent. But yeah, you can expect to see me there. I've been in camp as if as if I'm fighting anyway, so I'm training to fight on that show regardless. So that's probably where I'm going to be seen next.
And last but not least, please, are there any shout outs you'd like to give out to family, friends, affiliates, coaches?
Yeah, like to shout out all my sponsors. Luckily enough, I've got a few now, so I'm probably going to miss a couple. But Shifa Rehabilitation, Yannick McGee Nutrition, um, Oosh Giveaways, Pound for Pound Performance, Apparel, um, already there's the New Natural, Royal Minerals Sea Moss, um, Gillespie Corporate Security Services, and yeah, anyone that I've forgotten, just yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, and then obviously everyone that helps me in the gym day in, day out, my coaches, my teammates, and my family, my friends who support me. Yeah, that's about it.
Please, if you can, send me a list of all those you want me to tag. I'll tag them in the YouTube episode and in the Instagram post, both the stories and the actual reel and feed. Um, Dennis, thank you so much for coming on. Guys, if you enjoyed the episode, if you've watched and listened this far, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. You can catch the episode here on YouTube, and you can also listen on Spotify, iTunes, and on Google Podcasts. Dennis,
And
once again,
don't
oh,
forget to turn on notifications as well on YouTube. Yeah, because it helps your algorithm.
thank you. Yes, guys, you heard that. Thank you so much, Dennis. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you for
Take
having me
care.
on, mate. Yeah.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.